Okay, we're using the table to draw a graph, and then we're going to answer the question. Um, if you watched the last video, you would have heard me talk about not always going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, but changing the scale to appropriately fit all of the data. Okay, and because as you can see here, every one tire has a stack, has 8 inches in the stack, right? Height in inches of the stack. One tire is 8 inches tall. 2 tires stacked up makes it stack 16 inches tall. 3 makes 24, right? Doesn't really make sense to go by 1 here and not change this to a bigger number jump each time. So I'm going to just go by 10. This is just a nice simple thing that you'll be able to see, okay? And if we do this, then hopefully it'll help you to understand it. I'm going to say down here, we've got, that's 0, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. This direction we're going to be going 5, like 1 unit each, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. But I'm going to go in the y direction, I'm going to go by 10. So I'm going to say this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. Okay? So that, and this is going to give you a little bit of a rough estimate because it's kind of hard to, we can go over here to 1, but going up here to 8 is like not quite all the way up. Okay, so we'll put a dot there. It might not be perfect, but let's keep going. If you go to 2, over here to 2, you should go up to 16, and that's just slightly more than halfway between 10 and 20. Halfway between 10 and 20 is 15, so 15 would be right there. We want to shift up just a little bit for 16, maybe there. Okay, and then 3 is 24, so we go over here to 3. Well, 25 is right between 20 and 30 here, right? 10, 20, 30. So right between 20 and 30. Well, that's 25, so we want to go just below 25, just below that middle right there. Somewhere around there. Okay. And so on. Let's keep going. We say 4 and 32. Okay, so for 32, 10, 20, 30. 32 is right about there. Seems to be falling all in line. Right? And then if we extended that pattern by drawing a line through it, even though technically you won't have fractions or decimals of tires, it's either going to be 1 tire or 2 tires or 3 tires, and this is an idea that we'll talk about eventually, the idea of discrete versus continuous. We certainly do know that 0, 0, if you have 0 tires, it's height of 0. So we can start at this, we can start, let me put a dot there for it. You can start here at 0, 0, and I'm going to draw a line that starts at 0, 0 and runs through this like that. Actually, let me accurately adjust this. Okay, and then take this, say if we ran straight through that, extending it out, we could then make predictions about what happens in the future. And very specifically, whoops, sorry, this is tricky because, okay, there, that runs right through them. And let me see if I can make a prediction now about 7. If the stack is 8 units high, then we say, let's follow it over to 7 tires and go up and see what it says. 7 tires says it's about, let me see, hold on a second. Just kind of adjust to go through my points better. Okay, now 7 is here, and up here, what we get there, if I followed that straight across, that would be right about here. And what is that number right about there? It's a little more than halfway between 50 and 60. So halfway is 55, maybe a little bit more is 56 or 57. Okay. So using that to extend the pattern, we could assume that it's somewhere, it's 56 or 57 is my guess. But let's actually do the pattern, okay? Let's follow the pattern. I'm going to get rid of the line and say, well, what's happening each time? Every time you go up here by 1, we increase this by 8. Another 1, another 8, another 1, another 8. And if I extended the table, we would get then 5 would be 40, 6 would be 48, and 7 would be 56. Aha, that's 56. That's where it should be. I was guessing something close to that. 56 is the right number when we follow the pattern by saying every plus 1 here turns into a plus 8 here because they're each 8 inches tall. Another plus 1, another plus 8, etc. until I get down here at 7, 56. So extending that pattern by just kind of doing what we did there on the table, eventually, you could even go so far as to say what you're doing is you're taking this number and multiplying it by 8. This number, multiplying it by 8. That's another way of looking at the pattern. It's the same pattern. You're just looking at it kind of a different way. Instead of what you're increasing each time, you're just saying, what do I do with the first number, 1, to turn it into this number, 8? You multiply it by 8. And I could write that as a note there. You could do times 8 equals times 8 equals all the way down. So then 7 times 8 equals 56, right? Make sense? And you could even go so far as to then write an equation for that by saying take x, the number of tires, and multiply x by 8, and we will find out y, the height of the stack. And that becomes the equation. They did not ask us to write the equation, but that is the equation. So you can see it, okay? So you can extend the pattern by saying, what do you do every time to this to get to here? Or you can say, every jump of 1 here equates to a jump of how much here? And we see it's 8. That's where that number comes from. Okay? Hopefully that helps.